Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. Please remove your caps. Gentlemen, please replace your caps. Mrs. Judy Millette, Chairman, School Committee. Mrs. Evelyn Thorin, Vice President, PTO. Mr. Paul Logan, our guest speaker. Dr. Richard Moser, Superintendent. Dr. Karen Maza, Assistant Superintendent. Mr. Robert Cruikshank, Business Manager. Mr. Bernie DiNatale, Director of Technology. Deans Bernard Battle, Jeffrey Doherty, Alan Thomas. Class Advisors, Patsy Maurer and Thomas Gallagher. Esteemed members of the faculty, all distinguished guests, and most deservingly proud parents, grandparents, family, and friends, I welcome you to our commencement ceremony for the Chelmsford High School class of 1998. Today, we all gather to celebrate the achievements of a group of young people who have continued to positively distinguish themselves from kindergarten through grade 12, our students in the class of 1998. While I cannot hope to list the individual successes of our 357 graduates seated before us, I can assure you that they cover a spectrum of areas within academics, athletics, and through extracurricular activities in service to our total community. Not only do we have students, teammates, and members of clubs sitting among this class, but also we have members of town committees, elective positions, youth groups, peer leaders, peer mediators, employees of town businesses, volunteers for town agencies, and musicians, artists, and actors in town groups. We have a group of young people who contradict the stereotype of today's youth in the media. We have individuals who show the appreciation for the many gifts they were given by continuing to give to others. This is Chelmsford High School's class of 1998. A group of young people for whom I have much admiration and respect. By working with their teachers, coaches, and advisors, they have set a standard of performance and demonstrated a depth of character that assures me that all that is not so well with today's world will in time change because of them. I do not need any state test or federal studies to prove to me that our class of 1998 is what's truly right with today's world and tomorrow's direction. This is the first senior class to experience the increased requirements of the state's time and learning mandates and block scheduling, and the first to graduate from Tsongas Arena. And I must say, they did it all with honest cooperation, exceptional enthusiasm, and with a much-needed sense of humor. With these qualities, you have gained the admiration and friendship of our entire staff and the dedicated efforts and support of the entire town of Chelmsford. This support is signaled by the presence today of our faculty, our present administration team, along with past high school administrators, Mr. George Simonian and Mr. Edward Quinn. Your achievements and willingness to share your talents with our greater community are a most appreciated reward for the continued efforts of our educational professionals and by our government officials on behalf of public education. To State Senator Susan Fargo, Representative Carol Clevin, to Selectmen William Dalton, Philip Eliopoulos, Michael McCall, Thomas Moran, and Stuart Weisfeld, and to school committee members Judy Millette, Evelyn Thorin, Mary France, Mary Jo Griffin, and Tony Volpe, on behalf of the class of 1998, I say thank you for what you've done to provide these young people with the best educational opportunities. And the next time you are questioned about the state of public education in Massachusetts, just remember the achievements and the motivation of my seniors, our class of 1998. The class of 1998 has set higher standards not only academically, artistically, and athletically, but also for Spirit Week with your three-dimensional electrified class walls. You are a class that loves to dance and dares to do things differently. You've grown under the guidance of and in respect for your class advisors, Ms. Patsy Maurer and Mr. Thomas Gallagher. And as both advisors admitted at the senior banquet, you inspired them to grow with you. Yes, even I have grown thanks to your willingness to share with me your ideas, your activities, and even the dance floor. I especially want to commend your class officers, President John Ho, Vice President Amish Shah, Treasurer Jeffrey Gallant, and Secretary Rena Shah for a spectacularly successful senior year. I, along with my three amigos, Deans Al Thomas, Jeff Doherty, and Bernie Battle, we've enjoyed many laughs during our 4 years with you. I urge each member of the class of 1998 to remember all you did to earn the most coveted Chelmsford High School diploma. Take pride in your achievements, take joy in the friendships you have made, and know that you can continue to make a positive difference as you move on to new challenges. As your class song says, these are the times to remember. And believe me when I say, you are a class I will remember with much pride and appreciation. And now to begin our program, I call to the stage a very close friend of our salutatorian, a young lady who has also distinguished herself academically and through her sharing of her talents at Chelmsford High School, Marcy Muzukowicz.
I would first like to extend my congratulations to the class of 1998. It has been an amazing year for all of us. But although it now seems to have slipped away so quickly, there were times when it was not easy. A few short months ago, many of us had had just about enough of the whole planning your future process. It was then that Rachel informed me she was going to forget her college plans and become a beachcomber. A beachcomber, I asked? Yeah, she said, one of those people who sifts through the sand. Maybe, she told me, she would even invest in a metal detector. A must-have if you're planning to launch a successful beachcombing career. As Rachel began spouting off the many benefits of this stress-free life, I decided it sounded like a good plan. Wouldn't it just be easier, she asked. It definitely would, I agreed, but I knew she would never do it. Although we continued to joke about one day merging our beachcombing businesses in an effort to monopolize the entire Massachusetts coastline, I know that our jokes will never become a reality. For Rachel has never chosen the road that would just be easier. Instead, she works hard to accomplish her goals and always achieves admirable excellence. From her minor supporting roles in our 8th grade play as Waiter 1, Waiter 2, and Man on Street with Umbrella, to her starring role her senior year as editor-in-chief of The Voice, Rachel's performances have screamed success. Whether it be staying at school until 7 o'clock on a Friday night, trying to maintain order while the computers in the Voice production room came crashing down all around her, or staying up late one night to finish a tough English essay, or driving frantically around the greater Chelmsford area in search of the restaurant that serves the best mozzarella sticks, Rachel never compromises her high standards. She is one of the kindest, most thoughtful, most hardworking, and most fun-loving people I have ever met. Her determination and her friendly sense of humor have successfully carried her this far, and these impressive qualities, combined with her willingness to learn and her ability to adapt to new situations, guarantee her great success in the future. So, Rachel, in the off chance that beachcombing does not work out for you, I know that you will have many great talents and virtues to fall back on. Everyone, it is my pleasure to introduce to you my best friend, the salutatorian of the class of 1998, Rachel Malamed.
I know this sounds corny, but it seems to me that something magical happens during senior week. The same people who consistently snubbed me for 12 years, or the people who I swore at when they cut me off in the parking lot, somehow changed. Maybe it was because there were no fluorescent lights at the prom, or because everyone had enough sleep and little enough stress, but I began to like my fellow seniors more than I ever had before. They were the same people as before, with the same quirks, but I could also see a light inside of them. Each student had vitality, flexibility, and this sense of humor that seemed inextinguishable. Only during senior week did I start to get that syrupy, nostalgic feeling. Part of my feeling was because I would soon lose my old friends, along with my newfound friends. But there was something else I wished I could preserve in our yearbook, along with the pictures of all my friends, the youth of our class. For you won't always be so young. Someday you'll be 42, and by most measures you may be a success. No, 42 is not old. Maybe you decided in high school that you wanted to be a doctor, and now you're the chief surgeon at Mass General. You're rich, you're admired, and you hate your life. But it's too late to do anything about it now. If you maintain your comfortable existence, you'll always be secure. And besides, if you divorce your nagging wife, think of the lawyer bills it would take to get you the jag. Besides, at 42, your life is set, right? But the audience I'm addressing is not 42. You, in a few hours, will be high school graduates. When you start to think like that 42-year-old, you'll know you've come far from where you were on June 14th. People are fond of telling high school graduates, your whole life is ahead of you. And most seniors feel this way. You know that you're not 42 and that your life is not predetermined. You're eager to form and direct yourselves. In the last week, I've met future doctors, musicians, engineers, presidents of the United States of America, ballerinas, and titans of the music industry. I've also met many who are undecided about what they're doing, but who have the same eagerness to create their identities as adults. You don't feel now that you're stuck on a certain path, but instead you seize your lives. You believe the ancient ants who sigh and, pinching your cheek, proclaim, your whole life is ahead of you. They're right, your whole life is ahead of you, but I don't know why they're so nostalgic about it. Their lives are ahead of them, and the 42-year-old surgeon has his life ahead of him as well. The only difference between you and them, besides that you might have more time left to live, is that you know now that you are free to create yourselves. With every action, you will define more clearly who you are. But with every decision you make, you will also define who you're not. Over time, the sum of your actions may seem to form a narrow path with an inescapable destination. When you can't give up your joyless career in surgery or your spent marriage, you stop being a member of the class of 1998. But don't fear. Rejoining us requires no alumni association fee. All you must do is remember how, as a senior, you felt that your options were limitless. You were free of wrong turns, and you're as free now as you were then, free to screw up or to excel. All this freedom can be scary for people who, a few months ago, were not even free to drive after 1 a.m. It seems so easy to go wrong, and when you're young, you feel that each decision is profound and important. Don't be scared and don't be paralyzed. It's better to be wrong than to be uncertain. None of you have enough experience to be certain that what you're doing is right. The voices of reason start telling you that if you don't go to college X, you'll never get a good job, and other such garbage. Ignore them. These voices are the voices of people who have lost their ability to adventure. They are so caught up in their narrow path that they think everyone else should follow it. Keep your perspective. Even if you can later consider your actions to be mistakes, every decision is only part of you. No single decision seals your fate, but each brings a new twist to your life story. Why not make it a twisty story? Why not make it a story you like, since the story must be short? For the past few weeks, I've seen seniors walking around the school misty-eyed, exclaiming, "This is our last June ever in high school. This is the third to last time I will ever dial my locker combination." But every moment contains a last, and most students made it through the last October ever of senior year without shedding one tear over it. Since all moments in life are an end and a beginning and a part of the whole, make them all what you want them to be, as you have this week. Be adventurous always, as you are now. Now your sense of humor won't allow you to take yourselves too seriously. You're not afraid to make mistakes, so you're not afraid to act. You will make mistakes, even if your only action is inaction. What is so horrible about making a mistake? What is a mistake? Is it the wrong turn that distances you from the marked-off destination of this vast maze of life? Though a wrong turn may take you from where you think you want to go, don't ever regret it. The goal of the maze is not to find a certain place marked finish and to be declared as success. The only purpose is to explore as much of it as possible. If you learn from all of the wrong turns and the right turns, there are no mistakes. But instead, each action is part of the creation of yourself. Explore and learn and evolve, but at the same time, don't change what you are right now. This sounds like a paradox, but it's not, because people who are young always look to change. You can see the comedy of life, and you can recover from any obstacle, as long as it doesn't prevent you from facing the other obstacles. Remember, your whole life is ahead of you. Always adventure, always seek to create yourself, and always enjoy the creation. And you'll always be a member of the class of '98.
Thank you, Rachel. Now it is my pleasure to introduce a young man who has helped to lead the class of 1998 through a remarkably successful senior year. He is led with enthusiasm, quiet dedication, and the demeanor of a true gentleman. The president of the class of 1998, John Ho.
this time, I would like to ask Mr. Meidel to come to the podium. Or stay. Mr. Meidel, on behalf of the class of 1998, it gives me great pleasure to present you with this check. The class wishes that this money be used to defray the cost of landscaping the Science Pond. The class of 1998 is happy to donate this gift to Chelmsford High School as a token of our appreciation.
On behalf of the faculty and students of Chelmsford High School, I most appreciatively accept this gift. This gift reflects the very spirit of the class of 1998, an enrichment of our school community and a dedication to making this world a more beautiful place for all. Thank you, John. Thank you, class of 98.
As I sat on my couch, vegetating in front of the TV, I happened to catch a commercial for the X-Files. Maybe you've heard of it. The commercial starts off with some creepy music, and then follows up with some shots of aliens and FBI officers. But the scariest thing about the commercial wasn't the music, or the aliens, or even the close-ups of David Duchovny. Instead, I was most disturbed by the phrase that flashed across the screen as the commercial ended. Trust no one. Now just think about that for a minute. Trust no one. Imagine living in that world where friends and family suddenly become strangers, where paranoia and fear become our sole companions. It's a scary thought, but it forces us to realize the tremendous influence of trust in our lives. Every day we trust that the sun will rise and set. Every day we trust that 2 + 2 will forever equal 4. And every day we have faith that we will never again have to see Justin Momini without a shirt on. Yes, trust is a powerful, powerful feeling. In just 5 letters, this word conveys a world of comfort, security, and faith. Trust can come from a lot of places like friends or family, but most importantly, trust can come from within all of us. You know, it's kind of funny that before I even had a chance to sit down and think about what I was going to say today, people, mostly friends, were giving me advice on speaking. You know, they'd tell me that I should stand up straight while speaking, or that I should keep my speech short and funny. All the requests seemed simple and easy enough, although I could feel that hiding behind all of the advice was a genuine lack of trust. At first, it bothered me that these people had so little faith in me. It annoyed me whenever someone would ask whether I'd begun writing my speech, or whenever someone would jokingly say, "Your speech better be good." I was annoyed because these people echoed the fears and doubts that dwelled within me. However, I quickly realized that before anyone else could have faith in me, I would have to have faith in myself. Public speaking has never been my forte. I'll be the first to admit that. I mean, it's hard enough just trying to remember what I'm going to say next, let alone trying to imagine all of you in your underwear. A big part of public speaking is self-confidence, but trusting myself was a big step that didn't come quickly or easily. I mean, it's just like Dag Hammarskjöld said, the longest journey of any person is a journey inward. It took me a long time to gather enough trust in myself to step up to this podium, which once seemed so intimidating and so uncomfortable. The reason it took me so long is that I first had to learn to accept myself for who I really am. But that's what these past 18 years have been all about, finding out who we really are. And slowly, through the good times and the bad times, we have gained life experiences that have molded us into the people we are now. And now with this ceremony, we're being turned out into the world. And it remains to be seen whether we can stay true to ourselves as we carve our own unique paths in life. Now I know that everyone here has heard of that old saying, if you believe in yourself, anything is possible. Now I don't know about you, but I don't buy it. I mean, success takes a lot more than trust. It takes hard work, dedication, and even failure. However, I'm convinced that if you believe in yourself, anything is a possibility. Trust points us in the direction of opportunity and gives us a chance to succeed. I know it may seem like I'm contradicting myself when I say that trust does not ensure a life full of success. But then again, life doesn't always make sense. And if you're looking for a guarantee, you're better off buying a toaster. Ultimately, A life filled with trust is infinitely better than a life where secrets and fear prevent people from truly living as they should, as themselves. Goethe once said, "Just trust yourself, then you will know how to live." So go on. You owe it to yourself to find out who you really are and to cherish and trust that person, because in the end, the only person that you have to account for is yourself. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite to the podium the president of the class of 1999, Siraj Afshar. Siraj, it is my pleasure as president of the class of 1998 to present to you this gavel, symbol of authority and responsibility. The class of 1998 wishes you and the class of 1999 the best of everything in all of your endeavors. We sincerely hope that you and your class will follow and uphold the fine traditions that have been established over the years at Chelmsford High School.
John, and the graduates of the class of 98. On behalf of the class of 1999, I'm very honored to accept this gavel. I hope that we, as a class, will be as successful in our accomplishments as you in the class of 98 were in yours. Speaking for the entire class, I congratulate you on your successful journey thus far and wish you the best of luck and happiness in the future. You will be sadly missed. The class of 99 respects the fine example you have set for us and will follow it with pride. May you always find peace and happiness in remembering the good times and good friends you had here at Chelmsford High. Good luck to you all. Thank you.
I now am proud to introduce an educational leader who is able to maintain a vision for the future without losing sight of the importance of serving the individual needs of each of our students today. Through his creative efforts and advocacy for change, Chelmsford High School has been able to set the standard statewide for effective programs which prepare our students for an ever-changing global society. It is my pleasure to introduce my colleague and mentor, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Richard Moser.
Thank you very much. I would like to begin by just thanking everybody for being so patient with our weather over the last couple of days. Switching to Tsongas Arena on Sunday has been a difficult task, but I think it's worked out nicely for all of us. And as fate would have it, this turns out to be Flag Day as well. So I brought my Old Glory from home just to just to honor Old Glory, but also to salute what I think is one of the finest classes that Chelmsford has graduated in a great number of years. As I talk to administrators and teachers throughout your 13 years of education in the Chelmsford Public Schools, they report that you will be known for your positive attitudes, your unparalleled enthusiasm, for at least 2 balloons bouncing back and forth this afternoon, for your scholarship, for your success on the athletic fields, for your creativity on the stage, for your commitment to your school and to each other, and for your high standards as a class. Clearly, you will serve as a role model for all classes that follow you, and I offer you my sincerest and personal congratulations. Thank you. It is also with great honor that I introduce another role model for the Chelmsford Public Schools, our guest speaker today, Mr. Paul Logan. Paul is a 1978 graduate from Chelmsford High School. And while at Chelmsford High School, Paul was an active participant in our student government. He was a sophomore class representative, a junior class representative, and treasurer to the senior class. He was an outstanding athlete in hockey, track, and football, and since graduating, Paul has been an active organizer of his 5th, 10th, and 20th reunions, and he was recently honored to be selected to be part of the Chelmsford High School Hall of Fame. After graduating from high school, Paul went to Bentley College, where he majored in marketing and management. He received the Dean's Award his junior and senior years. He was a member of the Falcon Honor Society and selected to be a member of Who's Who among students in American universities and colleges. After experiencing a disabling accident at the end of his high school career, he has contributed to the Massachusetts Association of Paraplegics, as treasurer 1984 through 1981, and a board member for 10 years from 1981 to 91. During college, he was president of the Organization for Disability Awareness and president of the Committee on Equal Opportunity. After graduating from Bentley College, Paul worked for 5 years as a budget analyst with Mitre Corporation in Bedford, Massachusetts, followed by the last 9 years as a financial analyst with GTE Lab in Waltham, Massachusetts. Paul's personal interests include 13 years of devotion to his wife Janet, his 8-year-old daughter Kristen, and his 5-year-old daughter Lauren. I have been told you can very often find Paul rowing down the Charles River, and if it keeps raining in Chelmsford, we'll be seeing Paul row down the streets of Chelmsford as well. It's a great pleasure to welcome back Paul Logan. He's been a wonderful role model for our students, and we look forward to his support and guidance as a guest speaker this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Logan.
Thanks for that nice introduction, Dr. Moser. I'd also like to thank Principal Meidel and the class of 1998 officers, representatives, and advisors for asking me to speak here this afternoon. I was both honored and humbled by this invitation. Before I begin, how many of you out there really thought and hoped it was Christopher Reeve up here? Not Superman, but I'm going to give it my best shot today. Rena Shah, secretary for the class in 1998, gave me a call back in March, asking me to be the graduation speaker at today's ceremony. And after realizing it was not one of my friends playing a prank on me, I asked Rena why me. Rena told me that as a former graduate of Chelmsford High School and a member of the Chelmsford High School Alumni Association Hall of Fame, I had a message to tell the graduating class of 1998. 20 years ago, I sat proudly amongst the graduating class of 1978, and now 20 years later, I have the opportunity to deliver a message to this afternoon's graduates. As I was considering what to say to you this afternoon, I was wondering what, if any, connections I may have to the class of 1998. I realized I had several connections the more I thought about it, and I'd like to share a few with you. Jeff Gallant's grandparents and my parents were both high school friends, and they participated in each other's weddings some 50 years ago. Thank you, Jeff. Stephanie Rogers' father and I worked together for 5 years at the Mitre Corporation. That was over 10 years ago. Ned Heslin, where's Ned right now? Thank you. Ned Heslin is not only my next door neighbor, but he also delivers pizza to my house from Pizza Express. And I really appreciate that, Ned. Fred Marks proudly serves on the Chelmsford Commission on Disabilities, as I did for 10 years. And Sarah Millette is the daughter of school committee chairperson Judy Millette, who was a teacher at Wakefield High School 20 years ago. My wife was one of her students. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Sarah. So many things have changed at Chelmsford High School over the past 20 years, yet so many things remain the same. The class of 1998 has strong leadership in John Ho, Amish Shah, Rena Shah, and Jeff Gallant, as my class did 20 years ago. The class of 1998 has two truly dedicated class advisors in Patsy Maurer and Tom Gallagher, as my class did 10 years ago. Patsy and Tom? Patsy and Tom have worked with the graduating class since they were freshmen, and boy, I wish my class advisors did the same, because the leadership that they've exhibited is just tremendous, and it's quite a pleasure to have them here. The class of 1998 has gold medal scholars, national merit finalists, and outstanding athletes, as my class did 20 years ago. The class of 1998 has been shaped and molded by a motivated and hardworking school committee, an esteemed superintendent of schools, supremely talented teachers and staff, and a highly regarded and much loved principal. Same thing 20 years ago. Hope you've been following the pattern here. Chelmsford High School is as good as ever. I take pride in Chelmsford High School as well as the entire Chelmsford school system. I received a quality education, learned much about teamwork, and was taught many of life's lessons from teachers, coaches, and administrators, and if you'll indulge me here, I'd like to read a few. Scott Johnson, Ed Quinn, Jack Fletcher, Carol Kowalik, George Simonian, Mrs. Gordon, Ed Carpenter, Jan Silva, Mrs. Giavaris, Bob Noonan, Don Frazier, Tony Siragusa, John Jarima, as well as countless others. I needed the help, guidance, and classroom experiences from many of those individuals when my life took an unplanned detour 2 weeks shy of my junior year at Chelmsford High School. And I'd like to share a message or two with you about that maybe you'll remember 20 years from now. August 22nd, 1976 was a warm and beautiful summer day in Chelmsford. It was 4 years before most of you were born, 2 years before I was to graduate from Chelmsford High School, and 2 months before my 16th birthday. My twin brother Bill and I went with some neighbors to Seabrook Beach in New Hampshire for some fun in the sun and good swimming. My parents wished us well as we departed, and we told them we'd return later that day. We arrived with our neighbors at Seabrook Beach at 9:30 a.m. and quickly threw our beach blankets in the sand and headed for the water. I ran towards the water to dive in, as I had done thousands of times over the years, but little did I know this would be my last dive. As I dove into the wave and accelerated through the water, I hit the sand with my head and broke my neck. I couldn't move anything. A neighbor who had joined us that day saw me lying in the water, going nowhere, and pulled me out and saved me from drowning. I was conscious the entire time and remember it like it happened yesterday. I was off to a hospital and in an ambulance and observed by multiple medical personnel to determine if I had taken in too much water and also analyze my injury. The doctors told my parents I would live. Unfortunately, I had sustained a spinal cord injury. Exact prognosis would be determined over the next several weeks. I spent the next 5 weeks in the intensive care unit at Lawrence General Hospital. The diagnosis was not good, as I had very little movement in my upper body and none in my lower limbs. I was operated on where they fused a bone from my hip and put it into my neck. After those 5 weeks in intensive care, I was then transferred to New England Rehabilitation Hospital in Woburn to begin extensive rehabilitation. Things were not easy for me at this point. I couldn't feed myself, couldn't bathe myself, couldn't dress myself, couldn't brush my own teeth, I couldn't walk, couldn't move my fingers, couldn't push myself in a wheelchair, I couldn't even yada yada yada. For some reason, though, I remained upbeat and motivated thanks to the incredible support of my family and friends. My parents, brothers, aunts and uncles, cousins, and friends from Chelmsford were the catalyst to my positive frame of mind. I was not only concerned with rehabilitating myself, but I was determined to be tutored so I would not get behind in school. I had the forward vision that I wanted to graduate with my brother Bill and all my classmates that I had been with for so many years. The doctors told me not to push myself with schoolwork, as the rigorous physical and occupational therapy schedule was more important. I wanted to recover quickly. I wanted therapy and tutoring all day. There was no downtime that I needed. My dreams remained endless. I thought there was no stopping me now, and I fully believed I'd be walking out of New England Rehabilitation Hospital and back into Chelmsford High School. Okay, now for the reality. 10 weeks after my injury, the doctor told me the bad news. I would never walk again. I would be a quadriplegic for the rest of my life. I was 16 years old. I was shattered. No more hockey, no more football, no more baseball. I was both angry and bitter, as well as frustrated. For the first and only time in my life, I was depressed. For the next week, I cried a lot and asked why me. But during that week, I saw a lot of other young people around me with spinal cord injuries. One guy wanted to commit suicide. One guy's parents told him they would give him hundreds of thousands of dollars if he could walk up some church steps in Italy. One guy was in complete denial of his injury, and another guy had little family and friends to visit him in his time of need. Role models, these guys were not. But in a weird sort of way, they helped me. I thought to myself, I have family and friends who not only love me and care about me, but who would never let me take the easy way out. I asked for their help and received it many times over. I knew my 3 brothers would kick my backside if I didn't battle this thing. I never gave it another thought. I continued my rehabilitation schedule and proceeded to be tutored until my discharge from New England Rehabilitation Hospital some 6 months after arriving. The author William James once said, "Human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." As you leave here this afternoon, proudly carrying your diplomas, carry with you the positive attitude of success you should feel as a graduate of Chelmsford High School. I truly believe your dreams and goals can drive you to succeed. As an athlete prior to my injury, I had that competitive spirit. I was motivated to win, and I hated to lose. I soon after that began my senior year at Chelmsford High School as class treasurer and finished it by receiving early acceptance to Bentley College. In between the acceptance at Bentley College, I graduated from Chelmsford High School on June 4th, 1978. I had gained much self-confidence since my injury almost 2 years earlier, and I felt that I had succeeded. I had grieved tragedy and moved on. I had a passion to succeed. I still had more dreams in my life. My next dream was college. As involved as I was in high school, I felt my priority in my freshman year at Bentley College was study, study, study. It's a good idea. I didn't want anything to distract from my studies. I was apprehensive to get involved in any extracurricular activities for fear of failing any of my classes. I didn't do as well in my freshman year at Bentley as I had expected. My grades were nowhere near those that I had achieved in high school. It seems the confidence I had in high school was sadly missing in college. Between my freshman and sophomore year at Bentley, an individual advised me not to be so timid. She also recommended I be more assertive. I thought I was assertive enough, apparently not. She told me not to be so apologetic. I was at first put out by this comment, but I ultimately believed it to be true. I aimed to get more involved, take more chances, and be more confident in and out of school. Peter McIntyre had it right years ago when he said, "Confidence comes from not always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong." I challenged myself to succeed. I became very involved my remaining 3 years at Bentley. I learned how to study as I became busier, and my grades dramatically improved. I graduated with my class in 1982 and was named a who's who among students in American universities and colleges. Goal setting, personal motivation, and dreams are so very important. In school, at work, at home, and in the community you live in. You must set goals to measure your performance. I see this almost every day in my career in business, as well as with the nonprofit organizations I get involved in. Make your goals challenging and go after them. I crave challenges, and I'm a results-oriented type of guy, sometimes to a fault. I have to bite my tongue when my 8-year-old daughter says, when my 8-year-old daughter's baseball coach says, "Learn the game and don't worry about the score." When I'm thinking, it doesn't matter how you play the game, it's whether you win or not. Should you occasionally fail, pick up yourself, and move on. Life doesn't end after one tragedy, one failure, or one loss. Personal motivation often determines your ability to succeed. You must be motivated to graduate from college, motivated to earn that promotion, or motivated to make changes for the betterment of all citizens. Make changes where you see fit and challenge anything you don't believe in. I attain great satisfaction and am personally motivated to volunteer my time to help make changes in Chelmsford and around the state in the many endeavors of the nonprofit organizations I represent. My goals, my dreams, I had many after college. I someday wanted to marry, have children, buy my own house, have my own house built for me, volunteer my time to people who needed it, and work in companies where I truly believed I made a difference. I've done all that. I still have more to do. Your dreams should keep you afloat in times of distress, frustration, and sadness. As disappointing as a bump in the road may be, remember, it's only a bump in the road. Remember your dreams and let them motivate you. Hold on to your dreams as you enter college, join the service, or begin your working career. My life has dealt me some curveballs, bumps in the road, and difficult challenges, yet I remain motivated, enthusiastic, and goal-driven. Many of the goals and dreams I had when I was younger have prospered, some have had to be modified, and some have yet to happen. I take what life deals out and I move forward. I hope I always will, and I hope you will also. In closing, I ask you to remember the words of the late Robert Kennedy. Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not? Thank you.
Paul, having had the pleasure of working with you when you were a student at the high school in 1978, I'm not surprised by your honest and inspiring words to our class of 1998. I now have the pleasure of presenting to you this diploma, making you an honorary member of this distinguished class of 1998. And now to introduce the valedictorian of the class of 98, I invite to the podium a good friend of our valedictorian, a young woman of exceptional academic achievements and a most mature demeanor, Nan Ka.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I have the honor of introducing to you an extremely talented and conscientious and highly self-motivated young lady. I've known her since 6th grade at McCarthy Middle School. When we first met in class, she was shy and quiet, but she possessed a strong understanding of all of her school subjects. Because of our similar work ethics and interests, we became best friends, and in high schools, we participated in many of the same clubs and volunteer services. During these years, I came to know her not only as an excellent student, but also as a well-rounded person. Besides singing, she plays the piano well and came in second in a recent music contest. Honest and polite to both her teachers and peers, She is a responsible co-captain of the math team, organizing and coordinating practices and participating in regional, state, and national contests. But the most important of her qualities is her immeasurable readiness and devotion to help others. She is a 4-year member of the Thomas Jefferson Forum, doing community services and volunteer work. Each year, she participated in Senior Olympics, assisting senior citizens in playing games in the gym of Chelmsford High School. Last December, she went with the Thomas Jefferson Forum Christmas caroling at the Sunny Acres Nursing Home. On the town-wide cleanup day, she joined in cleaning the woods and parking lots around Chelmsford High School. Both her scholastic achievements and her concern for friends, faculty, and our community have earned respect and admiration. When I think of her, 2 sentences come to mind. She can't do everything, but she can do something. Because she does what she can, she has accomplished much. It is my pleasure to introduce to you this wonderful young lady, the valedictorian of the class of 1998, Dorothy Wu.
To the class of 1998, relatives, friends, and faculty members, thank you for coming to our commencement. There is a Zen fable that tells of 2 monks arguing about a flag. One said, "The flag is moving." The other replied, "No, the wind is moving." The 6th patriarch happened to be passing by. He told them, "Not the wind, nor the flag. The mind is moving." In a sense, all 3 people were right. It is the same way with life. We observe the same things and rephrase them to suit our interpretations. Because of that, I wondered, what can I possibly say to you that you haven't already thought of yourselves? We've known for months that we would soon be leaving this comfort zone called home to discover new realms and stake out our own ground. As the once far-off reality of life after high school draws close, many of us have thought about how we will handle this new life. This past week, our last week as seniors, many of us have been exchanging advice and assuring each other about the future, and at the same time, we have been revealing what principles we hope to live by in the coming years. While listening to people's statements, it seems like many people have arrived at the same conclusion, that if we can still laugh, even the worst disasters life tosses at us cannot overcome us. That we must always aspire and reach for the stars, for if we reach for the treetops and fall, we land on the ground. But if we reach for the stars and fall, at least we will land on top of the trees. That we should hold on to dreams, for they propel us through life, and without them, life dwindles to mere existence. That we must never stop learning, and that we should never stop questioning. That if it weren't for our families, friends, and teachers, we would not be where we are today. That we must see the future as a chance to begin again and to compensate for what we did not do before. That while we must look to the future, we must never forget the past. That we must accept ourselves and make the most of our own gifts instead of trying to prod non-existent talents into existence. And that we must follow what our hearts tell us, for only then will we feel any motivation to strive to succeed. This past year, college application essays, senior papers, and even senior captions for the yearbook have posed questions and opportunities to re-examine ourselves and our lives. Whether facing these assignments or thinking in random moments, we have come to realize the same conceptions of life. Most likely, it is because of these assignments and the knowledge of the soon departure from home that we have sat down and pondered over the best way to command our futures. In the nostalgic, pensive, and perhaps overly sentimental atmosphere surrounding graduation, those thoughts resurface, but they are not really so much new pieces of advice for the future, but reflections that should apply over the course of a lifetime. However, the approach to life consists of more than just reflections. It also includes the realities that sometimes seem to negate encouraging remarks. We have heard from those who love us that the sky's the limit and that we can accomplish anything if we really try, but life and the real world do not owe us anything. The world has no obligation to give us a chance or to make sure that the opportunities that would suit us perfectly will eventually come our way. We must actively pursue the chances that do cross our paths and not take anything for granted. Opportunities are not given because we deserve them, but because someone who barely knows us thinks it is worth the time to try us out. We should know exactly how much we are worth without announcing how much we think we are worth, because soon, high school successes may become negligible. Away from Chelmsford High School, in places where no one knows us, our names alone mean very little. Perhaps as soon as tomorrow, we could be applying for summer jobs and competing with a wide range of people, and the matter of hands will not be, what have you accomplished, but what can you prove you can do, here and now. As time passes, will those circumstances really alter? In life, we will prove ourselves over and over again what we are capable of doing. Every time we change jobs, every time we move to a new location, every time we meet a new person, we must prove both our character and our abilities. Even if this is a small world, it is not so small that people will automatically know who we are by reputation. At the same time, although we are facing what can seem to be a lonely world, we are not facing it alone. Before leaving this place today, take the time to thank friends, parents, and teachers, for without them, we would not be where we are today. We would not have gotten so far. These people have been our support systems for 4 years and counting, and many of them have repeatedly changed the courses of our lives. Thank them for everything they have done to help. But enough about ourselves. Yes, our lives are about to change, and our minds are about to expand, and our efforts are about to make us soar. But around the time of graduation, we seem to turn our attention to how we can make our own lives great while ignoring the lives of those around us. Keep in contact with each other so you may encourage each other in all that you do. At the same time, reach out to the community and volunteer. Do community service, visit nursing homes, help out in soup kitchens, do anything you can. As Henry Van Dyke said, there's a loftier ambition than merely to stand high in the world. It is to stoop down and lift mankind a little higher. In closing, as we graduate, look back upon the fond memories that you have of high school. Look back upon the friends you grew up with, the faculty members who influenced and inspired you, and the family members who supported you. Look back on all of your memories and smile. And now it is time for us to look forward. God bless all of you, and see you guys in 5 years.
Thank you, Dorothy. Our schools continue to offer the best opportunities for all students to not only reach their graduation day, but to be prepared to enter the world of tomorrow. Providing the best educational program for the future involves difficult decisions and the continued efforts to provide open communication among all members of our community. In Chelmsford, we are fortunate to have a school committee who is dedicated to providing the best that public education can offer. I now ask you to give a warm welcome to the chairperson of our school committee, Mrs. Judy Millette.
It is truly an honor and a privilege for me to confer the diplomas to the Chelmsford High School class of 1998. You are an exceptional and gifted class. In my tenure on school committee, you're my 9th graduating class, and you are by far the class that I've come to know the best. I have watched many of you grow up in our classrooms and in my family room. My daughter Sarah is a member of this class, and she has helped me to understand your journey. And I will never forget this special privilege of being with you today. You've had many people supporting you over your years in Chelmsford schools. The K-12 staff, our central office staff of our school system, helped you to get here. Your parents, family, and friends have all played a very important role along your journey. And you have the support of a community that values education. But it is you, it's you who rise to the occasion. Take advantage of all there is to offer, find yourselves and a path toward your goals. I know you, and I have great confidence in your ability to meet the challenges ahead. And I need to share a little story with you. Just recently, I was having dinner with a very dear friend of mine, a Chelmsford resident, and he travels the world on business. He, better than anyone else, knows the importance of being able to compete globally. He's come to know many of you. I'm sorry. He has come to know many of you, your achievements, your intellectual ability, your community involvement, and your absolutely caring spirit. And it is on his authority that I'm here to tell you that the class of 1998 can compete globally, and the class of 1998 will succeed globally. On behalf of the Chelmsford School Committee and the Chelmsford community, we are so very, very proud of you. And we wish you, the class of 1998, happiness, good health, and continued success. You ready? Me too.
To emphasize the importance of parents and the achievements symbolized by a diploma from Chelmsford High, each year we ask a member of the executive board of our high school PTO to assist in handing out the diplomas. This year, Evelyn Thorin, Vice President of Chelmsford High School PTO, will be assisting. And now, the moment you have all been patiently waiting for, the conferring of the diplomas.
Hey, can you tell me when to start? Or do I start? Okay. Every 2 seconds, or what do you think? Am I on? Yeah, I need. Steve? So I can see the people coming up the stairs. I can't see. I can't see. Leanne Virginia Atkinson. Nicole Angeli Baez. Jody Marie Balboni. Amy Lynn Beauchesne. Michelle Lynn Bishop. Penelope Louise Bruce. Carolyn Lee Chamberlain. Michelle Louise Clarity. Candace Marie Connolly. Kathleen Elizabeth Coughlin. Jennifer Lee Crosby. Allison Lee Deneen. Gina Leanne DePietro. Catherine Nicole Dowling. Angelique Michelle Iliopoulos. Katie Noreen Fletcher. Rebecca Lynn Friedman. Kristen Elizabeth Gallagher. Jennifer Rose Gannon. Kimberly Marie Giannakopoulos. Megan Michelle Hand. Tara Elisa Hand. Kristen Louise Harrington. Amanda Marie Husted. Monica Lee Jenkins. Allison White Kalin. Catherine Nanka. Laura Marie Kluga. Emily Jean Kobelenz. Danielle Lee Lefebvre Killick. Alicia Kelly Lagori. Natalie Tara Long. Michelle Susan Lyons. Rebecca Laura Marks. Adial Mayal. Jennifer Lynn Medeiros. Rachel Dania Malamed. Saima Ijaz Mohammed. Marcy Ann Muzikowicz. Catherine Elizabeth Organ. Emily Kristen Pattison. Michelle Denise Piccioni. Jessica Provencher. Geraldine Robin Rondeau. Lorianne Sanford. Jessica Ann Shanley. Pamela Jean Shields. Tiffany Ann Trahan. Jennifer Lynn Tremblay. Tanya Lynn Volak. Casey Colleen Wellman. Kristen Ann Williamson. Beth Jan Woisen. Julie Yi Wong. Jennifer Yongwei Yu. Melissa Ann Zaire. Jennifer Lee Andrade. Kristen Lynn Badger. Shannon Burley. Anne-Marie Bouvier. Jacqueline Michelle Brody. Anne-Marie Bryan. Lisa Marie Campbell. Courtney Elizabeth Carroll. Erin Joanne Carroll, Julie Ellen Chipman, Christina Marie Coates, Christine Marie Davis, Diana Teresa Del Papa, Megan Ann Finnerl, Kathleen Elizabeth Flaherty, Jamie Beth Fleming, Kelly Megan Flynn, Marianne Beth Freitas, Jacqueline Deidre Jeffroy, Jessica Daphne Jeffroy, Ellen Frances Gilbride, Amanda Lee Gilfeather, Jenny Linda Gilmore, Stephanie Lynn Giroux, Jennifer Marie Gregoire, Anna Marie Katrina Hawking, Colleen Heffernan, Gina Mariana Helatia, Sheila Margaret Hindle, Caitlin Rose Jenkins, Meredith Erin Judge, Laura Elizabeth Campus, Sarah Beth Lavoy, Melissa Elizabeth LeBlanc, Elizabeth Ellen LaRue, Sarah Catherine Millette, Vanessa Lynn Marr, Jennifer Kelly Martin, Rosalind Mayotte, Marika Lynn Mingalelli, Jane Patricia Moores, Catherine Ann Nelson, Marissa Jean Amabono, Kelly Lynn O'Neill, June Rose Petrillo, Nicole Rose Polycrones, Christine Ann Reed, Jennifer Amanda Rayome, Stephanie Ann Rogers, Kristen Ann Rudder, Reena Sudhir Shah, Alana Kristen Cimarellis, Andrea Blaine Smith, Stacia Catherine Smith, Katie Patricia Styling, Katrina Lee Thompson, Yuha Tran, Kimberly Vandenboek, Emily Louise Williams, Stephanie Yee, Vanessa Lauren Aluya. Melissa Jean Bader. Sharon Ann Belleville. Lisa Marie Betancourt. Amy Christine Blaisdell. Melissa Marie Boyajian. Stacy Marie Brooks. Angelyn K. Brown. Allison Marie Buckley. Sarah Ann Burnham. Adrian Elizabeth Camere. Colleen Michelle Carey. Christina Shambiris. Puthiran Shea. Allison Marie Chula. Melissa Errett Lorraine Dickinson. Katie Lorraine Doobie. Jennifer Lee Dull. Mary Elizabeth Edmonds. Georgia Zarkos. Melissa Ann Faubert. Michelle Elizabeth Flannery. Sarah Nicole Foster. Julia Ann Geisler. Simone Gemmer. Caitlin Corinne Giles. Catherine Lee Graves. Kathleen Elizabeth Higgins. Samantha Ann Hill. Jennifer Abby Hughes. Olga Iskrasitsky. Maria Kakutsis. Elaine Elin Kuo. Suyan Lee. Jessica Michelle Lawyer. Kate Elizabeth Mahoney. Jacqueline Christine Martin. Elena Ann McInespy. Alicia Marie Mesmer. Colleen Margaret Mullen. Brooke Lewis Myers. Danielle Marie O'Brien. Heather Marie O'Donnell. Elizabeth McGarry Paraso. Melanie Catherine Portuise. Diane Marie Potter. Nicole Ann Richards. Tamara Ann Sebelius. Ami Kishore Shah. Jennifer Lane Shanahan. Jennifer Ann Tremblay. Carrie Lee Chura. Katie Elizabeth Urban. Leanne Sylvia Weiss. Erin May Widowich. Dorothy Wu. Brian Edward Atchison. Jonathan Edward Arden. Christopher Michael Bacon. Kyung Ho Ban. James Thomas Benton III. Stephen Frederick Boss. Philip Michael Breen. Ryan David Brown. George Adams Byam. James Edward Carroll IV. Peter Chiev. Timothy Ryan Coit. Joseph Paul Costa. Michael John Curran. Brian Richard Day. Ryan Jeffrey Dolan. Jonathan Walter Dunai. James Joseph Durkin. Derek Bruce Eldridge. Frank Anthony Francione. John Arthur Fighton. Brian Michael Gaddy. Christopher Lawrence Gemmel. Brian Kenneth Goff. Christopher Bernard Grimard. Jared Andrew Hemmond. Richard Edward Heslin. Gregory Robert Homan. Brett Richard Holliday. Nicholas John Hollyman. Michael Peter Hurwitz. Stephen Thomas Ingalls. Kurt Daniel Kelly. Jason Phillips LeMagerie. Dale Martin LaRue. Hong Sid Lin. Todd Stephen Littlefield. Michael Williams Lures. Daniel Kerr McGregor. Daniel Harmon McLeod. Justin Allen McGuire. Andrew Francis Manoni. William Matthew Marcotte. Sean Robert McDermott. Timothy Ryan McDonald. Sean Xavier McNally. Jonathan Carroll Morris. Jeffrey Hayworth Neild. Adam Davis Rizzo. Sean Michael Serra. Stephen Andrew Sheehan. Joseph Manuel Souza. Joel Andrew Southall. Michael David Stewart. Michael James Stewart. Angelo Theophilopoulos. Photius George Singos. John Robert Underhill. Andrew Stephen Urban. Keith Richard Walsh. Charles Joseph Wright. Christian Klaus Iger. Jason David Andrews. Mario Alejandro Ayapan. Andrew John Berry. Brian Wilfred Boucher. Cole Burkhausen. Charles Elmer Bordonaro. Jason Richard Brothers. Michael Victor Buno Jr. Matthew Edward Byrne. Joshua David Carlin. David Bruce Cesare. Barry Allen Clegg. Christopher Robert Coyne. Kevin Daniel Curtin. Elton Arthur Dean. Jonathan Edward DeSells. Michael Robert DeVito. Keith Generous Doty. Isaac Anton Ellingson. Christopher John Filardo. Vincent Fernando. Joshua Curtis Foster. Bruce Edward Gauthier. Matthew Paul Gearin. William Paul Gontars. Richard Francis Hajar. Robert Harvey. Matthew James Keegan. Kevin Michael Kivlin. Colin Brendan McDonald. Frederick Sean Marks. Andrew Norton Martin. Kevin Matthew McCarthy. Jeffrey David Morris. Christopher Michael Mullen. Thomas Francios Mullins. Christopher Nardoni. Patrick James Nyan. John Paul O'Connor. Everett Varney Olson III. Brad David Faniff. Stephen Eric Phillips. Bradley Charles Poff II. Jason Matthew Poor. Jeffrey Allen Rideout. Brian Scott Roy. Jason Patrick Ryan. Michael James Scavizzi. Matthew Stephen Skomis. Peter Anthony Shaw. Derek Lawrence Sheridan. Michael Joseph Spinello. Mark Matthew Stewart. Philip David Schaefer Thorin. Michael McCann Torres. John Robert Watson. Scott Thomas Wilson. Craig Lawrence Wiswer. Mark James Abrick. Nicholas Andreopoulos. Andrew David Apostolos. Michael Philip Baldwin. Keith William Bormeister. John Paul Borowski. Timothy Andrew Brown. Jeffrey Michael Callahan. Craig Alexander Chemley. Peter Ciardi. John David Deloge. Charles Norman Douglas. Stephen Alexander Dumas. Brian George Fisher. Jeffrey Paul Gallant. Kevin James Garofalo. Michael John Gauthier. Garrett David Greenwood. David Alexander Hagel. Michael Aaron Karsh. Timothy Patrick Cohane. Jeffrey Allen Kidder. Christopher David Knight. Ronald Lazardo. Jason Jerron Lee. Mark Andrew Lemaire. Bruce Michael Lindstad. Kenneth Francis McDonald. David Adam McMillan. Matthew McCorwitz. Michael George Martell. Stephen Alexander Mask. Kevin Edward McHugh. Justin Gardner Momini. Kevin Frank Allington. Craig Scott Perko. Jeremiah Arthur Peters II. Stephen Michael Fair. Casey Patrick Phelan. Gregory Reed Ravenis. Gerard Paul Ryan. Jesse Richard Santos. Sean Michael Scanlon. Christopher Lee Schuler. William Edward Silvio. Brian James Smith. Namu So. Joshua Manuel Souza. Kyle James Thompson. Siddharth Tiku. Jeffrey Neal Trudeau. Christopher John Whalen. Gregory James Whitehead. Matthew Alfred Wint. Chung Tung Wu. And the president of the class of 1998, John Chi Yuen Ho.
Class of 1998, please stand. Class, turn tassel. Congratulations, guys, we did it.
It is my pleasure and honor to present to you the graduates of Chelmsford High School's class of 1998. Please allow the faculty and principal's party to leave the stage. Have a wonderful day, folks.
Short intro, short version, roll off. Short version.